since 1978, featuring the Greenfield gunner, Mike Edwards, former Maryville Scot, Donnie Moore, and from the Daily Times, Marcus Fitzsimmons.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, and I'm here at the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville, along with Blount County Sports Hall of Famer Donnie Moore, longtime sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Daily Times sports reporter Caleb Jarreau. And this is the GoTeez Sports Page. The SEC basketball tournament is in full swing, and we're going to the whistle blows. And now let's set today's lineup card. Donnie Moore will report on the latest high school sports scores involving Blount County teams, and will follow up with some national sports stories. Marcus Fitzsimmons will be on board to update us on what's happening in local high school sports. Marcus will present his feature, Mark It Down. I'll talk some Tennessee round ball as we break down the SEC basketball tournament. We'll talk some NCAA basketball tournament bracketology and throw in some UT softball and baseball for good measure. The Let Her Rip segment is set to go, so let's break the huddle and dive right in. Guys, good morning. Good morning. Yeah.
Good morning, Mike.
Yeah.
Now that I'm here.
Yeah. A lot going on. Got the SEC tournament. We got baseball and softball over at UT going on. We got a team left, I think, down in the state tournament here locally, Alcoa boys, but they don't play till next week, I don't think.
Busiest time of the year.
Yeah.
Heat dome and blizzards in the same forecast. I mean,
yeah. Well,
what more can you ask for?
It's tournament time and it's basketball season, so you know you can, and it's March. You never know what's going to have in March.
You don't. That's for sure.
Well, I got a little letter rip this morning, and I'm ripping Auburn.
Do it.
I'm ripping Auburn. I've heard all of Auburn, and I want to hear. I'm not going to hear any more. Bruce Pearl thinks the Auburn Tigers should be in the NCAA tournament. Stephen Pearl thinks the Auburn Tigers should be in the NCAA tournament. The boys from the Plains are 17-16 overall and have lost 4 of their last 6 games. The only argument for Auburn seems to be their strength of schedule. No team has ever gotten in at large bid with 16 losses in the history of the NCAA basketball tournament. I don't think there is a prayer Auburn makes the field for March Madness no matter how hard Papa Pearl and his son politic. In fact, I don't think the Tigers should even make the NIT field or deserve to make it. I don't even think they'll be asked to go to the NIT. Your thoughts, guys?
But Mike,
I mean, that's all I've heard since the SEC tournament was Auburn. They're going to get in.
Watch out for Auburn.
But Mike, they've played a tough schedule.
So watch out for Auburn. They're not going to be there long.
They also lost some really bad games along the way, too, to some really low dwellers in the SEC.
I think you lose the strength of schedule argument when you don't win the games.
Exactly.
I think you got to look at the strength of record, which they have a couple good wins. I mean, they beat Florida.
Yeah.
They beat the Big East champ, which they'll let you know about, that they beat Florida and beat the Big East champ.
Of course.
But no, I mean, I think it just comes down to what the bubble looks like. If we look at and see some mid-major teams stealing bids and push Auburn off, I'm sure not going to be upset about it, because I don't think if they get left out, it should be a national catastrophe like they'll make it.
Well, I'm not going to be too upset about it.
I'd like to see them in the first 4.
Send them to Dayton
as like a 12 seed and see what happens.
Hey, listen, they should not even be in this position. I think to start the season, they were ranked somewhere around 14th.
Mm-hmm.
Going into this season, and of course, Bruce Pearl decided there a week or 2 before the season started that he just had enough, I guess, and he didn't want to coach anymore. And it was too late for Auburn, really, to go out and get another basketball coach at that time. So I think it was a set deal, to get his son in there, because if he'd have resigned last summer and they get a new staff, well, Stephen Pearl's he's probably out. He's probably out of a job. So, he played it right down to the 12th hour right there and stepped down, and they had no choice but to put his son in there with that virtually no college head coaching experience whatsoever. And here they are.
And not a lot of college playing experience either.
Not a whole lot of playing experience. No, he's just sort of rode his dad's coattails all the way through this thing.
What I really think is the worst part of the whole situation is Bruce Pearl leaves like 2 weeks before the season. None of those players are able to transfer. They're stuck. Like, you can enter the portal, but what team is going to take a guy 2 weeks before the year? You're not going to play. They already have their roster set. a lot of teams don't even have scholarships to give at that point.
Yeah.
So, like a guy like Tahad Pettiford, who's been a career guy, passed up the draft to come back to Auburn because he wanted to win a championship, gets stuck on a team that isn't going to make the NCAA tournament more than likely.
They rolled the dice on it. I mean,
well, I don't think the Pearls rolled the dice.
Obviously, they were. It was thought out as to how they were going to do it, how the timing was going to go. But a lot of people thought it was for the school. I think it was more for what you said. I think it was to keep the players trapped. And you roll the dice on that because if you have a good season, well, you've had a year together, you had a good season, you can talk them into staying. But you have a season like this and don't make the tournament, you better start from scratch next year because nobody's staying because they're going to feel like you did them dirty.
Wave bye-bye to all the players.
Surely anybody on the fence like Pettiford was, why would they come back?
And since we've got the NCAA tournament figured out with them, how long is Stephen Pearl going to keep this job down there? Because most of the time, these types of situations don't work out very well. I can go back to Bob Knight, and Pat Knight and his son, took over down at Texas Tech. He wasn't there very long. And then you had Joey Meyer, up at DePaul, took over for his dad up there. And he had a few good years there.
Yeah,
but for the most part, these deals that's handed down, they don't work out.
Well, let's see. Bruce Pearl was the only bright spot in Auburn's portfolio for the most part. So, given their track record and how they've handled things in other major sports with coach hiring, whatever the best thing to do is going to be the exact opposite of what Auburn will do. They will find a way to make a mess of this.
And it's hard to make an argument that Bruce Pearl stepped down for any other reason than to make sure his son got the job. Because if you would have said he stepped down to run for office, that would make sense with the timing. He didn't run for office. He's on TV. And he didn't have that gig before he stepped down.
So is he rested now? Is he ready to come back and take over for his son, so to speak?
I don't know. He's done. He's carrying his part of the program on TV, arguing against Miami, Ohio, which was undefeated until yesterday, to not make the tournament, so Auburn can make the tournament, which I think is just what everybody wants.
So
why would you want to watch?
Why don't we
do
this? Why don't we have a first play-in game where Auburn plays Miami of Ohio, and the winner goes in as a 12 seed?
Well, I'll tell you what.
I wouldn't argue that.
No,
if they leave Miami of Ohio out at 31-1, I can't see that, and put an Auburn or somebody in there like that at 17-16. I think it'd be a travesty. I mean, really. I don't care what level you are in this day and age of college basketball,
or what conference you play in.
That Miami and Ohio, not taking anything away from them because it's a great school, but their NIL budget is not near what a lot of people is, and for them to go, or any team in that caliber, to go undefeated during the season is you deserve to be in the tournament.
It's a great accomplishment.
Absolutely.
I don't care what level you're playing at.
Yeah. Well, hey, good start to the weekend, Caleb, for Tennessee baseball and softball.
Yeah.
Both of them got wins yesterday. The boys baseball team defeated Georgia 7-4. And I believe the lady softball team defeated Mississippi State 3-1. So
program record
off to a good
for the
start.
softball team.
Yes,
they're their best start in program history.
Yeah,
at 26-0, and they are rolling right now. And that's even been. Some of those games have been without Carlin Pickens, who's dealing with a shoulder injury.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't even pitch last night.
Exactly, and she's probably the best pitcher in the country. And you're able to roll out your 2 and 3 and get top 10 wins on the road. I think you're doing pretty good.
You're doing top 10 on the road in extra innings because it went to 9, and you deliver, and you've got you've got the lead because you're visiting, but then you've got to defend that last half inning. Defend that lead, and you bring in your number 3 and pretty much lights out. I mean, you give up a run, but they needed 2. I mean, that's just strong softball. That's just strong play.
You get 8.1 innings out of your starter, who allowed 1 run on 2 hits, no walks in 8.1 innings, 5 strikeouts, and worked 7 1-2-3 innings against Mississippi State.
Good grief.
And if they keep going and they run the table the rest of the year and they go undefeated, regardless of what Bruce Pearl says, I think they're in the NCAA tournament. What do you all think?
Yeah.
I'd say there's no question about that.
We'll have to see what Auburn does. We don't know yet.
Hey, the baseball Vols ranked number 19, and of course Georgia was ranked number 8 in the country. But they've had a little trouble. Tennessee has had a little trouble with scoring runs. I think they have 2.75 runs per game, going into this series. So got 7 yesterday.
Against the SEC team,
yeah,
too.
that's a step in the right direction.
Well, they only scored 9 against Wright State across 3 games. And you came out of that series hitting 268 as a team, which was last in the SEC at the end of non-conference play. And then, you go down to Georgia, which was a team that had 61 home runs in non-conference play. You start to worry a little bit about hitting 268. But Tennessee went down there. They got basically a perfect 4 innings from Tegan Coons. He ran into some trouble. Brandon Arvinson comes out of the bullpen. He's a guy who, passed up the draft to play at Tennessee, and you were a little worried preseason because he had arm soreness, and he's been kind of held back. But he went out there and threw lights out. And Tennessee's offense and Henry Ford especially really showed up and got them a win in Athens.
Yeah. You mentioned before the show that Georgia's schedule has been rather easy, so to speak, to start the year. And, of course, their strength of schedule shows that they're 126th on strength of schedule. But putting that aside, as far as national charts go, batting average, they're 5th in the nation. Hits, they were 3rd in the nation. Home runs, they were 1st in the nation. On-base percentage, 3rd. And slugging percentage, 1st. Now, I know, who you play has a lot to do with that, but still, that's pretty impressive going into SEC play. Plus, they'd won 4 straight, coming in to the game. So, I think it was a good win. Good win.
That's great. I mean,
and you struck out that lineup 10 times, too.
And you look back at, the last 4 or 5 years, Tennessee or Georgia one has led the nation in home runs when the season was done. And, Tennessee did not look good against Wright State. And I think that loss may have been let's hope it was an awakening moment, because they were definitely more aggressive at the plate last night. And it showed. And you got guys cracking out home runs against SEC pitching when they couldn't do it a week ago against Wright State. Yeah. And you got to feel like maybe, the lights come on a little bit.
And I do think lineup construction has helped some. You get Garrett Wright back, who was, Bowling Green's daily catcher last year. He was dealing with a hamate bone. He's your leadoff hitter now, and he gets on base at a great clip. Blaine Brown, another guy, he struck out 3 times last night. So to Marcus's point, you're trying to find guys who can get on base, who, like Blaine Brown's a guy who can hit. Yep. But that strikeout number is going to keep Tennessee down. And then you get Henry Ford, who had 2 hits last night, 3 RBIs, struck out 3 times in 5 at-bats. That'll play. Especially with the way he was hitting the ball, too.
And you got clutch hitting, because you had Marin come up in the 6th inning after you've blown you've fallen behind 4-2. You're in a clutch 2-out situation, and he delivers with a double, and you're back in the game, and an inning later you jump on him. I mean, that's the kind of hitting that we got used to, that we were hoping that would not disappear with Coach Vitello, and that's a sign that maybe it hasn't. We'll see. I mean, you got to do it a couple times before we believe, but you got the first time you can do it, gets you started with a little bit of hope and spark.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is going to be a team that you're going to like to watch.
And Manny Marin's been a good story too, because they've got probably 3 or 4 players who can start at shortstop in the middle infield. And Elander, new head coach, went to Manny, was like, "Hey, you got to hit if you want to play." And then pinch hit him on Friday against Wright State, and he walked it off. Gave him the day off again on Saturday, put him in the lineup, started him on Sunday, and he went 3 for 3 that day. And Tennessee didn't beat Wright State or even score, but he was like their only life. So put him in the midweek, and he performed. So he's performing offensively and really answering the call for Tennessee, which has 3 or 4 really good defensive shortstops, but needs somebody who can hit. Because like you said, Tennessee in the past, and I think will continue to sacrifice a little bit of defense if you can hit. He's a guy so far that can play a really good shortstop. He's trying to up his draft stock for next year, and he's a guy who can swing it.
Yeah. This Lady Vol softball program under Karen Weekly has been outstanding through the years. Here they are, 26-0, ranked number 1 in the country.
That's right.
I guess my question is this a good time for Karen Weekly to go in and negotiate her salary? Because I'm saying that because they're number 1 in the country, as I've said. They've got 26-0 deal here. They're probably the best sports program over there right now at UT. Can you name another sports program over there?
I
That's
wouldn't argue
doing
that.
as well as her. All she's got to do is go in and go, I'm thinking about going somewhere else. Got some feelers out there, and I'm the number 1 team in the country, and I'm the best program you got over here. I mean, she's got some real selling points where she could probably be raised about $1 million right now. What do y'all think?
Well, what she needs to do is raise some money for her assistants because she looked last year and the year before they get to Oklahoma and choke. We need offense. So she goes out and hires Craig Snyder and Stephanie Sanders, and now look at the offense.
Yeah.
They're one of the best in the country, and you pair that with a great pitching staff that Megan Rhodes-Smith has been a crucial piece of. And to your point, Karen Weekly's all at the head of it. It's just you see coaches these days who are stubborn and live and die by their ways. She realized there needed to be a change, went and hired the change, and now look at them. They're number 1 in the country, 26-0, and absolutely rolling.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest strike against it, Mike, is you don't know. The athletic department could be sitting there thinking, well, we need to save some money on the women's side because we're going to have to hire a new basketball coach soon. we got to have that money in hand to go out and get us a new coach in case we need it.
Yeah. Well, you also need the money in hand to build your entertainment district. So.
Yeah. Well, the baseball team today is at Georgia at 5 o'clock, and that game is on the SEC network today.
Good.
And then the Lady Vol softball team will be at Mississippi State today for a game at 3 o'clock. So,
Caleb, I want to ask you because you've seen him. The guy who came in out of the bullpen and closed last night, I believe it was Arvidsson. He looked pretty polished. I didn't recognize him. Like he seemed to have a lot of. Where did this guy come from? What do you know about him?
Well, he was on the team last year, and he's the guy, if you remember, at the SEC tournament last year against Texas, came out of the bullpen and threw lights out, and really kind of came on the scene that way. But he went into the MLB draft, put some feelers out, and the consensus was he'd be a mid to late round pick, and he would have a chance. But a lot of coaches wanted him to come back to college and put together a full year because he hadn't put together that full year of work where SEC teams know what he's going to do. And so he came back this year, began the year with arm soreness, so he started late. And they need him to be – they want him to be what he did last night, which is piggyback off your Friday night guy and get through Friday with 2 starters or 2 pitchers. And he's looked the part. But, I mean, he's a plus arm. He'll be an MLB draft pick as long as he stays healthy, and it looks like he's healthy now. And, now that it's heating up, he didn't seem to be concerned last night with anything, and he can work – 2, 3, 4 pitches if he needs to, and really keep hitters off balance. But he's every team wants a consistent lefty out of the bullpen that can actually throw with velocity, and he's that guy.
Do you think he's got if you're in the situation, if you have an unfortunate injury, is he like starter 4? Or is he the guy that
I would think so? And honestly, I wouldn't even say injury. If you get I would say if you get to the middle of SEC play and you've got one of your 3 weekend guys who hasn't performed, which I think is a question mark. You've got Tegan Coons, who is a sophomore this year. He's a draft-eligible sophomore. He started last year a little bit on Sundays and Tuesdays, but there's some questions about if he can, be a consistent starter. He looked good last night before running into trouble. You'll have Landon Mack start Saturdays. He's a guy from Rutgers who's really got a lively arm. Younger guy again. And then you've got Evan Blanco on Sundays who can't really overpower you but will spot you up. So if any of those 3 guys, I think, doesn't, perform like they need a SEC starter to do, I think you can slide Arvidsson in there and he'd be the guy. When he came back, I think he expected to be a starter, but the role he's playing now, that long reliever, I still think he has a valuable role. And, all these guys get caught up in wanting to start for MLB draft boards and to up their draft stock. But I think if he can do what he did last night, which is, 4 innings out of the bullpen and shut down a team, I think MLB draft teams will take that any day.
Yeah. They passed out some hardware last week, SEC all-conference basketball, and Jacoby Gillespie, first team, and Nate Ament, second team, and Felix Opara was the SEC all. He made the SEC all defensive team, so they placed 3 players on there. And coach of the year Todd Golden down at Florida, and then player of the year Darius Acuff, Jr. at Arkansas. What a year he had! I think he had 20-some points last night at the half. He was going absolute crazy. But I assume they pass out hardware. Back in my day, they gave certificates.
I'll do you one even
better.
Yeah,
a certificate. Can you imagine that? I bet they don't give certificates today.
Were they on papyrus, Mike?
Huh?
Were they on papyrus?
No, Lord, no.
No. You just had to keep the newspaper
They were signed
clipping.
by the SEC commissioner. That was kind of nice.
Yeah, no doubt.
That was kind of nice, but yeah. But I bet they don't give certificates anymore with all the money.
I'll do you one even better, Mike. Acuff is a freshman.
Yeah, he's
he
just
got
a freshman.
player of the year.
But
he's averaging almost 30 a game.
Is he going to stay? I mean, he's
not.
got two options. Number one, he can go ahead and file for the NBA draft, or he can put his name in the transfer portal and name the price he wants for a transfer somewhere else.
Sure.
He's got all kinds of leverage there, doesn't he? Now,
yeah.
In this age of open market.
Mike, where do you think Felix Okpara ranks among defenders at Tennessee? Because Rick Barnes says he's one of the best defensive guys he's ever coached.
Yeah, I think he's really a force in there. I mean, as far as blocking shots and he's been those guys inside haven't really got the press as some of these other guys because this has been an outstanding offensive rebounding team. They've won a lot of games with offensive rebound. Even in that Vanderbilt game yesterday, the announcers kept saying, well, Vanderbilt's held their own. And you're watching the game and you go, yeah, they've held their own, but Tennessee's still getting a couple, 2-3 shots. It seems like they were getting 2-3 shots down there. And those inside guys have had a lot to do with that. It hadn't been Gillespie and Ament getting all those rebounds. It's been Okpara and Carey and some of those other guys on the inside. And so, they've always been really good under Rick Barnes of attacking the ball on drives. All of his teams, by golly, you're going to if you're going to the bucket, you're going to get blocked or you're going to pay for it. You may have to go to the free throw line, but we're not going to give you two. Going to the bucket. So I think Okpara has done an excellent job in there. And
well, Vols, didn't they out-rebound the Dogs like 41-26 or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they had 15 offensive rebounds yesterday at halftime.
Oh, yeah.
And they were tied.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm looking at this basketball team right now, and to me, it just looks like Gillespie, Ament, offensive rebounds, and turnovers, not making turnovers.
Yeah.
That's this team. And that's this team in a nutshell, pretty much. You all see something else?
Pretty well wrapped it up.
Two offensive players, Gillespie and Ament, offensive boards, turnovers.
If you pull up a box score, if Tennessee won, I bet Ament did good, Gillespie did good, and they didn't turn the ball over.
Right.
And you look yesterday, they lost. Ament had a rough game. Gillespie had some ill-advised takes, and turnovers were an issue.
Yeah, and I think they only turned it over 6 times yesterday.
But they turned it over at some crucial times too, when you definitely didn't need it.
Yeah.
But it's gonna. It makes them a tough team to kind of try to predict in March because you don't know. I mean, like you said, the formula seems pretty easy to win, but you don't know if they'll do it.
I just didn't really understand. Of course, we want to talk about a little bit more here in a few minutes, but in the last 3 minutes of the ball game, Ament had just had a horrible offensive shooting game yesterday. After coming off at 27 points the other day against Auburn, he was 1 for 13, from the field yesterday. But he was deadly at the free throw line.
Yes,
pretty much deadly at the free throw line. And you're in there in the last 3 minutes, and I know he had taken the ball to the bucket, 2 or 3 times before that, and went to the free throw line. And in those last 2 or 3 minutes with the game on the line, they're throwing up 3-point shots out there. Gillespie and him just throwing up 3-point shots, and you're going, hey, take the ball to the bucket and get fouled, go back to the free throw line, especially with Ament or Gillespie, either one, and you got a chance. But I just didn't think they played that last couple of minutes real well.
And
smart.
I think you can chalk up Ament's shooting performance too, just because it's so rare. I think he was probably still dealing with the injury.
Yeah.
He came back, played a lot of minutes against Auburn. He had to be feeling it a little bit at least yesterday. But to your point, even not only just the guards throwing up threes, but like we've talked about, you've got that front court. All game you were able to throw them the ball. Vanderbilt's a tiny team. Throw them the ball, let them work in the paint. You're either going to get fouled or get a layup, and at the end of the game, they stop doing it.
The last time Ament went to the free throw line in that game, he had both hands on his knees, and he was breathing.
Yep.
And I'm saying, hey, he's spent. He's spent. And you know what, Donnie Moore? I've always said this. When you're spent, what goes? Your legs go. Your legs go, and then your shot goes, and then your scoring goes. Yep. And I think yesterday they may have overplayed him a little bit based on how long he had been out. And I think down there toward the stretch, I think he was just spent.
I agree. And
Just
again,
spent.
that's why I think you feed the post players. Because you know what? Vanderbilt, they may have seen that he was, looking a little tired. You can't leave him open still.
Yeah.
So get the ball inside the post and let those guys work on smaller players against Vanderbilt. And it worked most of the game. It worked against Auburn, and they go away from it against Vanderbilt at the end and lose.
Yeah. Well, they didn't. I make the comment that I would have liked to seen the Mint take the ball into the basket. I think the ball needed to be in his hands, if not to the big guys inside. But he was getting a lot of fouls going to the basket. They're late and going to the free throw line. And I thought that maybe they would do that. I think, putting the ball in his hands was the right thing. But, take those outside shots, right there in the last couple of minutes. And then they didn't pull the boards, which made it worse. And the play that really killed them yesterday was when Vanderbilt got that ball to half court and threw that high lob down the court, and that was a dagger.
That was a bad
and I think Tennessee got a bad call on a shot down there. I don't think it was Boswell, but one of the players, got a foul down there, and he didn't even touch the guy. There was no touch
the inbound play.
No, it was Ethan Berg where he was holding his hands up.
Yeah, exactly.
He was holding his. He basically let him go, and they called a foul on him.
And I've watched this tournament, and I hate to get on the officials a little bit, but a lot of times they favor the shooter a lot. There's a lot of times where shooters, they go into people. A lot of times on those 3-point shots, they'll shoot and they'll go in, and then they'll go in, and then they'll fall back, And a lot of times the defensive player's just standing there, with his hands up. And on that play, I thought that was crucial, that they lost that play right there.
Especially when you're playing a possession game. And to your point, too, with the officials, it was all over the place yesterday.
Oh, man.
Both ways was all over the place.
Oh, yeah, they let them play.
And to your point, too, with Nate Ament, Rick Barnes has complained all year that when Nate takes those rise-up middies, defenders take out his landing zone, and they don't call it. Yeah. But then you have fouls, like you said, where you just drive and just throw it at the rim, and they call it. So there was no consistency, and I don't think it's why Tennessee lost. I think it was no consistency both ways.
I think if you're down like Tennessee was down at the end of that basketball game yesterday, you just got to take the ball downhill to the bucket. I don't care who it is. For the most part, you got to take it in there and hope that you at least get fouled, or if you get fouled, you got the clock stopped. You can go to the free throw line. But when you're relying on an outside shot, that's exactly what the defense, I think, wants you to do.
Well, of course it is.
But at the same time, they couldn't stop Miles.
Yep.
They just could not stop him.
Yeah,
he outplayed everybody.
He was on fire.
When you go 11 of 14 and 4 of 5 from behind the arc, you're either having your best day or they're not guarding you well.
Yeah.
And it felt like
he was open.
It wasn't like he was falling off his back foot into the scorer's table and it going in. He was deep, but he was open a lot of those.
No, he got 30. He was out of his mind. And Tyler Tanner, he had 19. You talk about Gillespie and Ament. Well, there's their two right there.
Yep.
That made a big difference in the
couldn't match
play
it
yesterday. Yeah. Hey, we're going to take a break here. We'll take a timeout here, and when we return, Donnie Moore will provide some high school scores and some other news from around the area, and then veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons will join us with his feature Mark It Down. You're listening to the GoTeez Sports Page, Blount County Sports Voice, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
For over 90 years, Anderson Lumber Company in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. Locally owned, so the money made here stays here. Whether you're renovating a kitchen, bath, new floors, doors, or windows, Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store and can take care of you from design to install. We welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa for all your home's needs, or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
Welcome back to the GoTeez Sports page. And Donnie Moore, spring sports are in action even though it's spring break, huh?
That's right. You know, things don't stop very much for tournament time. They kind of keep going, and we are in the middle of the TSSAA State Basketball Championships being held at Murphy Center at MTSU, what they call the Glass House. It's been there for a long time. Good place to have a basketball tournament. In the semis last night, we'll start our Mandy B Street Realty local focus with the semis. Alcoa played Dyersburg in the 3 AAA state semifinal and couldn't handle Dyersburg. One girl in particular, Marcus, who was whom?
That would have been Shelby Jordan.
Yeah, Shelby Jordan. She dropped 30 and had 80 rebounds. And
if you want to go down the line, she was 10 of 17 from the field, 9 of 10 at the free throw line, 7 rebounds, 30 points, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 block shots.
Bauman said that would be his Miss Basketball.
Yeah.
Which
I
don't blame him. That was
so
she played out of her mind.
If you want to run down the numbers, she was 10 of 17 from the floor. The rest of the team was 10 of 29.
Goodness.
I mean, she was the motor for them. And, I mean, Caleb, you all were out there. You got to see it. I mean, Alcoa's got its first state tournament appearance in quite a while, at least for this generation.
Yeah.
And you tie the game in the third quarter. You take the lead. I think it was, 40 to 37, 40 to 38, something like that.
J.C. Cox hit a 3 to take the lead.
And then Dyersburg looked like the team that won the state championship 2 years ago.
Yeah. I think you can chalk a lot of it up to, experience and being in that moment before. And also, to your point, Shelby Jordan just made plays and hit shots. And Alcoa kind of went away from what had gotten it the lead, which was, holding the ball for 10, 15 seconds, running an offense. They started chucking up jump shots, chucking up threes. And when you do that against a team like Dyersburg, they'll make you pay. It was a very good basketball team, but it was a good game overall. And I think, what makes it funny is Harper Sennett, who led the way yesterday, the freshman, beat Dyersburg Middle School last year in the middle school state tournament. And so it would have been a cool story if she led them out to beat the high school team. But, if I had to bet money, I'd bet we'd see those two programs battling a lot now that they're both in 3A
Wouldn't be surprised.
for supremacy in that class.
And, Harper had a great game, too. I mean, she finished with 22. She was the only Alcoa scorer in double digits. Shot 50% from the field, perfect at the free throw line. And, one of these things that popped out when I was looking at it, when we got done watching it, Alcoa forced one more turnover than they committed. They committed 14, Dyersburg committed 15. But when you get the points off turnovers, Dyersburg had 20 and Alcoa had 11.
Good grief.
So Dyersburg, when they got the turnover, they were much more efficient turning it into points than Alcoa was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that had something to do with it. And I think that goes to what you were saying, that they were chucking it a little bit and getting a little excited when they got those turnovers instead of being the normal approach that they usually take to be methodical.
Yeah, and I think that ended up being the game of, Alcoa probably felt like they had to force shots to win that game, whereas Dyersburg has been in that moment before, knows if you just play your game and it'll all work out in the end. And Alcoa played until the end, just like the Tullahoma game that was, they had to come from behind and win in their quarterfinal matchup. They played until the end, but just, when you run into a state power like Dyersburg and a team that'll probably, go for a state championship today and could very well win their second in 3 years, that stuff's going to happen if you go away from what was working.
And the other one that stood out was, and part of this is because of the way how difficult it is to defend Shelby Jordan, because she went to the free throw line 10 times. But Dyersburg ends up 16 of 19 at the line. Alcoa ends up 6 of 7, and, Stinnett took 6 of those, hit 6 of those.
Mm-hmm.
But that difference, six trips to the free throw line difference is going to come into play in a lot of ways. So I felt like that got them a little bit there. Was they weren't getting into that position to pick up to draw the foul when they went up.
Yeah, and a lot of that too is Dyersburg was in a zone defense, and part of you either got to beat a zone by hitting shots, which Alcoa was struggling to do from outside, or drive and make layups and make them foul you. And the foul differential is going to look like that when you don't get, like we talked earlier with Tennessee, when you don't get downhill and you don't get to the rim and you don't get fouled. A lot of officials, there was very little contact when you're shooting just three-pointers, and officials aren't going to call that unless it's egregious. So I think, part of that is they sat in that zone defense, and you do just have to get downhill and get fouled, and that's what Dyersburg was doing, and you see that's why it ended up working out for them.
Sure.
And then we'll give them that setup. So with the win, Dyersburg moves on. They'll play today at 2:30, and they'll be playing White County, which is the team that beat Heritage in the state sectional game.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we said a couple of weeks ago that if you could get through this side of the bracket to state, you could play with anybody. I think this kind of bears it out because you got a championship game with the two teams that beat Alcoa and Heritage.
Yeah.
In the postseason.
That's true.
So
There's Blount
besides
County
each
all over
other,
3A now.
because besides beating each other, I don't think they lost in the postseason until they got to this point.
Yep.
So it says, like I said, they're very strong 3A teams from Alcoa and Heritage.
Yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
are. Well, moving on to the boys' action in Class 3A, there hasn't been any.
No.
Not yet. It's
week.
next week.
Yeah.
That's right. Alcoa boys play on Wednesday of next week, the 18th. They take on Fayette Ware at 26-4. The Tornadoes' record a little suspect. It's 21-13. Of course, they play up and they play good teams.
Yeah.
And,
How do y'all think about what do you think about the week layoff for the boys? You got things going. Your momentum's good. You're coming off a sectional win. You're heading down there, and you're looking forward, and then spring break hits, and you got that week off. I don't know whether I'd like that too good or not.
Yeah, it's hard to either be off or practice for a week and then come back and play in a tournament.
Yeah.
But basketball.
As a former athletic director, did you ever talk to the state about maybe getting that worked out where, you could get the girls' tournament maybe out of the way a little bit earlier, and then the guys' tournament would follow up instead of trying to do it the way they do it? A lot of places will start the girls' season early.
Yep.
And then they'll finish maybe a week early or 2 weeks early, and then it doesn't conflict with the boys' end of it. But this here, I don't know. I don't care much for the week off. I don't
either. Well, I wasn't the only one that talked to them about that, Mike. They've had many conversations about that. I know, but they won't budge on that.
And part of it, like because you're playing at MTSU, and because of the timing, you've got to get done.
True.
And so that MTSU can use their home floor if they have an NCAA tournament game, especially if it's on the women's side, because we had that conflict a couple years ago where they were basically running out the door, running NCAA out the door so that NCAA could run in to set up for MTSU hosting a pod.
I see.
That's true. You're right. But anyway, we'll find out how Alcoa boys do on Wednesday of this coming week. Let's move on to a little bit of a few other spring sports right here. We've got some action that's going on still. Baseball, for example, a lot of teams are playing in this. What is it? Playing for the Cure?
It's one of the spring break tournaments.
Yeah, there are several.
Everybody's in tournaments. It's spring break.
Right.
It's hard to keep up.
Baseball, Eagleton bested Nashville Christian School 14-3 yesterday. The Kings Academy gets a win versus West Ridge 13-9, Marcus.
Yeah, go Lions. I mean,
that's right.
They've come.
Go
They
Lions.
that program's one that came back from the ashes, and
Yeah.
where
Phoenix.
it wasn't playing. It had a team, but that was about all you could say for it for a while.
That's true.
But now, the last 10 years, 8 years or so, they've been progressing steadily, trying to catch up with the softball program that they established over there.
Mm-hmm. Still in baseball, Alcoa drops one to Watertown, 2-1. Where in the world is Watertown?
We drove through it to get to Murfreesboro. It's in Wilson County, I think.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, Watertown.
But
2-1.
I think they were a state tournament team last year.
I believe you're
so that was
right.
probably a really good game,
I bet it was.
and not one that you'd probably lose sleep over, losing 2-1 early in the year.
Brentwood Academy defeats Heritage in baseball 3-1 yesterday.
I was gonna say probably not another game you don't lose sleep over.
Robbie's not going. He's not going to lose any sleep on that one. And William Blunt blanked South Doyle 10-0.
Run roll.
Yeah, run ruled them. That's right.
They got
Seymour
13
beat.
seniors this year, so
Yeah.
they're rolling.
13?
That's a lot.
Wow, you can't even get a lineup, get them all in.
When I talked to Coach Young in the offseason, I believe it's over 10. I believe the number was 13. When I talked to him in the offseason, he said sometimes he just sends 4 or 5 seniors with the freshmen to run JV practice, and he didn't even have to worry about it because they can handle it. So
Marcus Seymour defeated Powell last night 5-2. Yesterday sometime anyway, 5-2. So chalk up a win for the Eagles.
Kahneman's kids win.
Yeah.
You just got to like that program and continuing a tradition that goes back to Bruce Wilson and Greg Clark and some of those coaches that have just kept that program going as long as they have.
Got one softball score to relay to you at this time. Heritage won over Eagleton 2-0. Shut out Eagleton, so at Eagleton. So
is that softball?
That's softball.
it was a fun game last night, I heard.
Yeah, so we got a report from, I believe it's up on the dailytimes.com this morning. It'll be in Sunday's paper, but scoreless game, pitcher's battle.
Wow.
And Portland Bennett kind of broke the game open in what looks like is probably going to be her last prep game.
That's what you were telling me earlier, right?
Sounds like she's going to be having season-ending surgery to get ready for college because she signed with UT Martin.
Yeah.
It sounds like she has an injury they want her to get taken care of before she gets to school next year, and so she can get the rehab started. So that was her last one, but she comes up, delivers a double to put Heritage on the board, and then scores on an error, make it 2-0, and that was the final.
And I know Kelly did a good story with good job with the story on the Daily Times, but also, it's not often Coach Jeff Sherman cries, especially not in March, and that was the type of game with how Portland ended it for her presumptive last game of her high school career. That's one that'll really stick with him for a while.
Yeah, I suspect if rehab does not have her committed, she'll still be there in the dugout.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's hard to imagine her not getting her away from the dugout under any circumstances. She might do rehab in the dugout. You don't know.
I mean, she's been, a 4-year starter at this point, and since her freshman year. And obviously, athletic director Robbie Bennett's daughter. So even if she's not at softball, I'm sure she'll be somewhere over there.
I'm sure
we're getting old because I can remember the Facebook post when they were excited about her hitting her first home run as a freshman.
Well, let's end up our segment talking a little bit just about the World Baseball Classic.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, please.
The quarterfinals are still going on. But yesterday, the U.S. defeats Canada 5-3. U.S. has, one loss?
Yeah, to
so
Italy.
That was the quarterfinal, right?
That was a quarterfinal.
Yeah, because they get the day off, and then they play
the Dominican Republic tomorrow at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Yep. USA versus the DR at 8 p.m. tomorrow.
That'll be fun.
It will. Also, let's see, in a quarterfinal match that goes on today.
Oh, look, get that DR score from yesterday, that other score.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. The Dominican Republic shuts out Korea 10-0.
Run rule.
Yes.
And if you watched it, I've got to say, the Dominican Republic just abused Korea's catcher. You had one run where he slid into the outside of him and barely got a pinky across the plate before the tag came down. And then I think maybe 3 or 4 batters later, they went to the inside of the plate on him and swiped a hand and got it in. And that poor abused catcher is he plays with the LG Twins. It's Park Dong-Won.
We'll leave that right there.
rough day for Park.
Yes, it was no doubt.
It was a rough day in the park.
In the park. But anyway, today at 3 p.m., Italy plays Puerto Rico in a quarterfinal match. And at 9 o'clock tonight, Venezuela takes on Japan in another quarterfinal matchup. Tomorrow's our semis. At 8 p.m., it'll be USA versus the Dominican Republic. And, other than that, we've got to wait on the finals then. But they'll be played Monday and Tuesday, I think.
Mm-hmm. That'll be I didn't realize the World Baseball Classic, but when they make the bracket, they have to make sure Japan and the U.S. are on opposite sides, so that they can't meet up until the championship.
Yeah.
Which
They learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
But hey, I don't know. America versus the DR tomorrow night might end up being a better game than whatever we get, because the Dominican Republic is rolling.
Yeah,
they sure are.
They looked really.
I mean, they're just launching 450
name
foot
fun
bombs.
aside, you get a run rule on this thing.
Yeah.
When you're into out of pool play and you get a run rule, you're playing well.
Well, that's it for the local focus, brought to you as always by our friends at Mandy B Street Realty. If you got any real estate needs, see Mandy. She'll just take care of you. That's just the way she is, the kind of person she is, and she runs her business the same way. So, Mandy B Street Realty, thank you for your sponsorship. It's time to make a short lateral to our buddy Marcus Fitzsimmons for his feature Mark It Down. You're listening to WKCE 92.5 FM and 1180 AM Mid-Century Radio. Marcus?
Oh, thanks, Donnie. I felt bad because I know Maryville College has started the year and we haven't really checked in on them on the scoreboard, but we'll get around to that next week and get you an update, because I believe baseball had their first series this weekend maybe for conference play. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
That does sound right.
And they were at Scotland Yard yesterday, I know. And as we said, they might finish that series in the snow on Sunday. I don't know. I mean,
I know.
Could happen.
Yesterday was chilly. Today it's 70 and sunny, and then tomorrow it's gonna be snowing. So
yeah, it's welcome to spring in East Tennessee.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Where the pollen freezes onto your car. But Mike, I know we've got a lot of UT stuff to get through, and because it's spring break, we made some calls. We talked to people, but there are some mornings we can get teenagers out of bed and come to see us, and there's some that you're not going to win that battle, especially during spring break week. So
nope.
But we will catch them when they start returning to town
Sure.
next weekend. I'm going to go ahead and tease. I've got a pretty firm commitment from at least one of our softball teams that they're going to be here next week, and I'm working on another. But, Mike, you want to roll ahead and catch up with some more of this UT stuff?
Yeah, I just want to mention last night UConn beat Georgetown in Madison Square Garden in the Big East tournament 67-51, and Braylon Mullins from my hometown, Greenfield, Indiana, plays for UConn, and last night he 21 points in that game against Georgetown, and Braylon's averaging about 12.5 per game for the Huskies, and he's averaging a little over 30 minutes of play, and so
nice.
UConn will play in the championship game in the Garden this evening against St. John's, and that game's at 6:30 on Fox. So if anybody wants to turn it on and check out Braylon and UConn, and should be an outstanding game. Anytime you play St. John's in the Garden, you better have a 10-point lead with about a minute to go. And I'm speaking from experience, because I played St. John's twice in the Garden, and we had 10-point leads in the last minute. And one of them we won 84-83, and the other one we lost by a couple of points. And UConn played St. John's earlier in the Garden and got beat right down at the end. And then St. John's went to UConn, got beat about 35 or so here a couple of weeks ago.
Goodness.
So should be an outstanding game tonight. But St. John's is really they're tough in the Garden.
I'm going to suspect St. John's has been looking forward to this since that home loss or that loss at UConn, because there's not many times you're going to see a St. John's team go 0 for 24 during about an 11-minute stretch of the game.
Yeah.
And I think that's got to have been eating at them ever since, because they know they're capable of beating this UConn team if they get the right situation.
Yeah, well, I guarantee you they're fully aware and will feel very confident playing in the Garden tonight against UConn. I don't know where UConn is right now. You know, they went up to Marquette there, I think, last week and got beat up there, and that's not a real good Marquette team that they got beat by.
No, but it's not easy to play there either.
No, it's not easy to play. But the Big East is not a very strong league, and I think last night, Georgetown was, 11 and 16 or something like that. But those teams are. I think they only got 2 teams in the top 25. Caleb, Big East. So.
Yeah, it's definitely not what it normally is. But St. John's and UConn, I'm excited to watch.
Yeah.
And what's funny too is UConn is probably the highest ranked and highest projected team in the Big East, but St. John's won the regular season conference.
They did, yeah. UConn didn't win the regular season.
So St. John's is going to be a 1 seed tonight in the Garden.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if Hurley can get by without a technical foul or been thrown out of the game.
I think we're fine with the technical. I just don't think you want him thrown out.
Yeah.
If he gets thrown out, that means that it's dire straits.
Wonder what the line is on that.
My brother used to sell clothing, and he says that Hurley's the worst dressed guy he's ever seen. Said he doesn't know who's selling him his suits, but he needs to change over and have somebody else sell him some suits. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Hey, an SEC tournament, big surprise. Who's the big surprise, guys?
Kentucky.
Ole
Miss.
Ole Miss, yeah. I start to say
Miss.
Kentucky if you're thinking negatively.
Oh, negative, yeah.
And positively, it's got to be Ole Miss.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
since you brought them up, one of the betting guys tossed this out as a nugget yesterday. Since legal sports betting has been around, so you're talking 30-something years, yesterday was the very first time a Kentucky team in the SEC tournament was a double-digit underdog.
Oh, my goodness.
Really?
Because Florida was an 11.5-point favorite, and it was the very first time it's ever happened to a Kentucky team in the tournament.
This was also the first year Kentucky's ever played on Wednesday at the SEC tournament. They're the 9th seed, and they've never played on the first day of the SEC tournament. And yet here you are.
Yeah. So Ole Miss, big surprise is Ole Miss, and the other big surprises on the other end would have to be, Texas A&M getting beat by 20, and they had a pretty good year, and then of course Alabama, getting knocked out and
bowing out early,
and Georgia, making an early exit, but got to hurt Kentucky fans because they always come down to the tournament in mass, and I think it's been a while since they've won that tournament, isn't it? I mean, they bring all those fans down to Nashville, and they either go back after a couple of games or maybe 3 games, or I don't know. But anyway, look like the crowds are good though down there, Caleb. Look like they're drawn real well for the games.
What's worse, Mike? How bad Kentucky has been, or the fact that Kentucky fans have to watch Calipari at Arkansas play today in the semifinals?
I'll tell you what's really bad is they've invested about $21 million in that basketball team, and I don't think they're getting near half that. They are.
That was making me mad on the broadcast yesterday. I was listening to it. I think it was right before Alcoa played or during the game. I was listening. They kept talking about how hard Kentucky was playing, how hard they were trying. It's a $22 million roster.
Yeah,
it's not like we're talking about an underdog.
Really,
they should be playing hard.
But the thing about when they're playing at Bridgestone, and it's I think they're the next 4 years, I think, something like that,
for
with
a
the
while,
contract. So, and it's been a regular venue, but when we covered the Vols down there, you get after a couple seasons, you get to the feel of who's going to have doesn't matter where they are, their fans are going to show up. So you're going to have a lot of Tennessee fans there, obviously. You're going to have a lot of Auburn fans show up until they lose, and then they'll go. The Kentucky fans will show up midway through the tournament, usually because they're not playing until then.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter when Kentucky loses. They're going to stay around, and they will be the fair weather barometer So they will sit there through both sessions. And if they get on your side, they can turn a game. Like, they can get on your side and join with your fans and create a ruckus in that arena.
Yeah.
They can.
I mean,
Or
that's
they
a
can sit there on
basketball-
their hands, and it can feel like you're in a church service.
Yeah. When you're talking about surprises, of course, Oklahoma, beating Texas A&M like they did, and then last night, they led Arkansas, most of the way, and then lost by 3. And that had to be a devastating loss for Oklahoma because they're trying to work their way into the NCAA tournament. Mm-hmm. Well, they would have gotten Ole Miss, maybe instead of Alabama. So that Arkansas win, the Texas A&M win, if they happened to get Ole Miss and work themselves in that final game, then you could the Pearls could probably lay off, and because Oklahoma would probably have a better resumes.
Yeah.
Well, to your
going
point too. What if Ole Miss shocks everybody and wins the tournament?
Oh boy!
Now you can't put Auburn in; you have to put Ole Miss in as the auto bid.
Yeah,
that would mess everything up for the Tigers.
Well, it
That'd
would,
be
not
hilarious.
only that, it would take some bids away from somebody else in the NCAA tournament because every time you get somebody in there that's not supposed to get in there that wins one of these tournaments, that's what happens.
Yeah, nobody's projection has Ole Miss in that team.
No. I mean, they're really a long shot. They're a real long shot.
But you know what? One of my favorite parts of this tournament was, really, we haven't done the full 16-team tournament. This is something new with Oklahoma and Texas in there, making us have a full Wednesday slate. But Tennessee was the only team that had the first day bye and played on Thursday that advanced. The other 3 lost.
Wow.
So you ended up on Friday with a bunch of lower seeds playing, and that was exciting.
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah.
Now,
I did too.
I think it'd be funny because, like I said, we've only done it a year or two, but just looking at the numbers from the 2 run-throughs, and I'm like, if you're not going to get that top 4 bye, you may just want to tank the last 2 weeks and play on Wednesday because the people who play on Thursday are not doing well.
Yeah, the double buys. Double buys.
The ones who get that first round bye and play on Thursday, I think over the 2 years are maybe like 3 and 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
in those 8 games.
There's always something to be said, and every team enters it with different goals too. Like I think Tennessee losing, as much as you don't want to lose to Vanderbilt, probably helps them because you rest. Whereas a team like Ole Miss knows their season is over when they lose unless they win the championship. Yeah. So they're much more motivated.
What's so
to be
disheartening about Ole Miss is they lost a lot of close games during the year. I mean, their record should be better. If their record had been better, if it'd been around 500, maybe a little bit better. Look who they beat. They beat Texas. They beat Georgia. They beat Alabama. I mean, that's 3 pretty good wins right there as far as the SEC goes.
Well, I know people who would, if they finished 17 and 16, would be pushing for them to be in the tournament.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are years where you go through that lineup, you got to win over Texas and win over Georgia and win over Alabama. You're talking about, and now they're in the Elite 8.
Yeah.
And I think they finished, 15th in the SEC with that?
Yeah.
And
we're sitting here today waiting on them to play at 3:30, and they're the Cinderella team. The Cinderella team. Who would have put money toward that before this tournament started? Yeah. Hey,
it'd be funny if they had like little towels that said Michelin that they could throw up.
Yeah, those fans at Ole Miss are just going, man, this is great. I don't think we're probably going to win this thing, but we got another night in Nashville.
Yeah, it's spring break. That's what their coach said. If you're on spring break, come to Nashville.
Kentucky's gone with a $21 million, $22 million budget, and we're still here. Yeah, we're going to have some more. We're going to have some more barbecue and play some more music down here.
They may have been yelling at each other during the game last night, but I will guarantee you, out on the sidewalk after that was over, there were a lot of Alabama fans giving up hotel rooms and tickets to Ole Miss fans on the sidewalks.
Yeah, that's another, to your point about Kentucky fans being the barometer, another barometer is how cheap are ticket prices.
Yes.
Because when Kentucky loses,
they are
Ticketmaster is flooded with tickets.
Yes.
Because they got to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And some of them stay around. That's what I like to do.
Yeah.
Some of the Kentucky fans will stay there more than most. Will stay through through Sunday. They just make it a right just because they enjoy basketball that much. But and Alabama's that way a little bit. Alabama has fans that will be there the entire time. But, you can always tell, like, if it's a Vanderbilt or Tennessee or a Kentucky or an Auburn that's playing on that last day, ticket prices are high.
Well, what Tennessee fan would want to go there today and watch Florida play Vandy? I mean, two teams that they absolutely despise.
I would do that just to cheer against both of them.
I guess. Yeah. Hey, it's time to turn the page, and next up is the Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week segment. You're listening to the GoTeez Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensonTire.net.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards along with the rest of our broadcast crew, and now it's time for the GoTeez Sports Page Player of the Week segment, sponsored by Anderson Lumber Company, where quality service is always a priority, proudly serving Blount County for over 100 years. And Marcus Fitzsimmons, you want me to continue? Or
Let's just keep on rolling, Mike.
Okay, we will. All right, we're talking about the SEC tournament. We kind of hit on the big surprise, and of course Ole Miss is without a doubt, and some of the big disappointments. Of course, you got Texas A&M, you got Alabama, and you got Georgia that pretty much exited quickly, and then maybe Kentucky. Kentucky there, of course, they lost to Florida yesterday, which was a touch assignment. I just think Florida's playing outstanding basketball. But let's go to most exciting game. What do you think has been the most exciting game in the tournament?
That's tough.
Yeah,
there were two good ones yesterday.
Yeah, they were good yesterday.
Arkansas was exciting just because Darius Acuff was going crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was fun to watch him play.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you would call that one exciting overall.
Of course, we all got Ole Miss on our minds, but 80-79, it doesn't get much closer than that, does it, Donnie?
Absolutely. No. That's great game.
And Vandy, Tennessee went right down to the last couple of minutes.
I don't know.
That was pretty exciting.
It was ugly, though.
Yeah.
It was an exciting game, though.
Yeah, it was exciting.
I think the last 90 seconds was disappointing, but other than that, because, what was it, probably 24, 25 minutes, that game was 2 points either way.
Yeah.
Of it,
I think it was 10. They were tied most of the first half with like 10 lead changes.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, I wouldn't call it good basketball, though. They were chucking up shots.
But it was exciting basketball because they were both not playing at their full capacity.
That is
true. Both of them were taking things away from each other.
You never knew who would make a shot.
No.
So, I think if you had to pick the most exciting, I would go with the Ole Miss game just simply because it was so close, and
Alabama had a chance to win it. The guy took it to the bucket, just what you want the guy to do.
Yep.
Take it in there, get fouled, or get the shot. And by golly, Ole Miss stood up to him right there. And I thought, well, maybe he was fouled. It looked like there was a lot of contact in there. But you go back and look at the replay, and it looked like it was a good defensive play to me. Good call. Good no call on the play.
I'm sure he thinks otherwise, but I agree.
Yeah. And then go down there, and Ole Miss, missed a few free throws right there at the end.
Sure
what
did.
was there, 0.5 seconds left, and the guy heaves one down there, and I don't know. You always wonder whether one of those are going to go in or not.
And like you said, the Arkansas game was good. I think both of those nightcap games, either one of them could be your most exciting game because, Oklahoma led 36 minutes, something like that, before Arkansas came around.
And I think it's what happens when you get teams that are playing for something. Like Oklahoma and Ole Miss. Like if you lose yesterday, your season's over.
Yeah.
So you get an Ole Miss upset, and you get Oklahoma pushing Arkansas to the end, and you have to get a Darius Acuff masterclass even come out with a win.
Yeah.
He is just fun to watch, though.
Best
He
team-
really is. He is just fun to watch.
He might be one of Calipari's best guards in college, and he's coached some really good guards.
Best team performance. Best team performance in the tournament.
I think I'll go Vanderbilt.
I'll go Vanderbilt. I'll go Vanderbilt.
I wouldn't have a problem with that at all.
Because you got, like you said, Duke Miles playing great, Tyler Tanner playing great, and Vanderbilt is overmatched against most teams of like when they play Tennessee, they're overmatched, and a lot of SEC teams they are too. Yet they came out with a number 4 seed and went 11-7 in the conference, and they're 25-7 overall. And you saw why yesterday. They'll make you pay, and they're a smart basketball team. And I think overall, like you said, the lob play at the end, like they played a lot of team basketball that forced Tennessee to make plays that it didn't do.
Yeah. Little bit of an argument again. I hate to go back to Ole Miss. We're wearing them out. But you got Alabama there that normally is in the 90s offensively, and they held them to 79 points. It's a pretty good team of performance right there defensively.
That's
for your third game in 3 days?
Yes.
That's Chris Beard.
And you still got legs for that defense?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're right.
They're always – Chris Beard teams are always going to defend. And like you said, Mike, what they love to do is they love to stop the ball, and they love to run you off your spot and onto the baseline. And it worked the other night.
Yeah. Best individual performance so far?
Whoever it was that reset the clocks in the middle of the Tennessee Vanderbilt game.
My gosh, what's going on there?
How
about the deal?
I've never seen the computer system. I've never seen the computer system rebooted in a regular season game, and they rebooted the entire system in the middle of a conference tournament game.
That was crazy.
When did you ever believe that on replays that there would be people on the bench with a computer looking at replays so that you could decide whether to do it or not? Caleb, do you ever think that would come about? But
no, but those guys are probably the most important people out there besides the head coach.
Yeah, they're sitting there and they look like their IQ's out of sight, sitting there with their computers on the bench, and the coaches are stalling, giving them enough time to look at to see if they want to go to where they don't burn a timeout.
I think it was Seton Hall. It was a Big East team of some sort. I think it was Seton Hall. But they were looking at it, and they got the review right, and they were high-fiving, chest bumping on the second row.
Yeah.
Coach came over. Yeah. So that's a whole thing for them. But
yeah, free food after the game for those guys.
Oh, yeah, it's important.
And they're making a science out of it because it's not only does it look like it was right. It's like, okay, what's they've got profiles on referees and review officials as to what they are more likely to say and see on the videos what they're more likely to say is justifiable or overturning.
Wow.
And you have to not only, like you said, look at the review and say, is it the right call? You have to look at the review and think, can they overturn this?
Yeah.
Because there's several reviews you look at, and it's like, oh, yeah, he hit that out. But they don't have a view on it, or the camera angles aren't right. So you have to think very quickly. And a lot of times those officials don't want a review because they don't want to be wrong. So they're trying to get the ball in and run the play.
And the networks don't want them to stop the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
True.
Now that we're to this point, and they put this in to kind of speed everything up because they were going to the monitor too much, in the past. Now that they've beat the system, so to speak, is the NCAA going to come in and say, well, we're not going to allow this? We're not going to allow the computers on the bench and that type of deal.
I don't think you can put the toothpaste back in the tube. Honestly,
because all they'll do is move it to seat somewhere, and they'll have somebody have a Bluetooth earpiece in, and they'll be talking to the coach in his earpiece. I mean, they'll find a way around it.
Also, Mike, if you take the cameras off the bench, what keeps the arena from just playing the replay on the Jumbotron? And then coach just looks at the replay up there and decides.
Yeah.
Because then you really get home court advantage if you tell your Jumbotron guy, hey, play a replay every time there's a call so we can see if we want to review it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just having a hard time, and I know we live in a technology world of guys sitting over there deciding plays with a computer on the bench. Yeah. But that's where we are.
It's important.
That's where we are.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's just new to basketball. It's not. I mean, we've been seeing in football. They don't focus on it, but there are assistants up there who are telling them whether to challenge or not.
And baseball too. You always see the manager looking down in the clubhouse. They've got some guy back there with a computer. What did you have on the bench, Mike, at Tennessee?
An abacus.
Well, we have on the bench. We had 2 coaches over there and some reserve players. That was about it, and a manager. Yeah, and the Gatorade deal down at the end on a chair. That was pretty much all we had.
That's right.
We had no TV timeouts.
Did you
no
have
TV timeouts at all. So, the games were, you played an 8 o'clock game. I mean, they were over, 9 o'clock, 9:15. I mean, it was.
Did you even have a second row on the bench?
Second row?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, we did. We had a second row because there was a freshman team back when I played because freshmen were eligible. So they played the 5:30 or 6 o'clock game, and then after their game, they would sit behind the team.
That's where they sat.
That's where they sat.
Okay.
Yeah, and then behind them was the cheerleaders. See?
Really?
Yeah.
Behind the bench?
Behind the bench out there at Stokely. The cheerleaders on the other side. So there it is. And then over on this side was the Orange Tie Club across from where the players sit, and all those guys had their families over there. Those were money people, high rollers, and they'd wear their orange blazers, and they had their seat over there. And so it was.
No iPads.
Yeah, but no computers. No computers weren't even heard of back in that day. It was just. But I tell you what, there was a lot of missed calls. I like to see the games. Yeah. I like to see the games, where the calls are there. I don't like I hate the commercials more than anything. All the commercials that you have during the game. But the calls, I like for them to get the calls right. I do. I really do. But I went back and what's that 30 for 30? When they show old games, big games, that type of thing, and they showed that. What was it? Convicts versus the Catholics. That's serious. How many missed calls were in that game? I mean, it seemed like there were a bunch of missed calls on both sides, not just one side. It was terrible on both sides. It really was. It's amazing.
But that was when just getting replay on the television broadcast was a new thing. Doing that during the broadcast was something that was kind of just Monday Night Football level coverage. I mean, getting it for college was kind of a unique thing. We hadn't gotten to the ESPN world yet. We did have ESPN, but it looked like the Jeopardy format. It had the background and screens that were glowing blue and all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And kind of a Price is Right type curve on the coming down the side in cream yellow.
They got that, they got even in baseball now. They got replays. But, back in the day, I remember reading a book, and it was a manager that had called in the major leagues for years and years, and he was calling the Baltimore Orioles and some other team, and he was in left field. Calling the line down there, and some guy hit a ball, looked like it was going for a home run, and the umpire lost it in the lights. And he says, I lost that ball in the lights, and I didn't know what I was going to call. And he says, they told us in school, umpire school, that whatever call you make it emphatically. So he said, I emphatically called it a home run. And Earl Weaver just darted out of the dugout, heading for left field. And he goes, oh, man, I'm in trouble. And before Earl could get there, another umpire came out there, and he looked at the other umpire and said, did I miss it? And he goes, about 30 or 40 feet. So I'll tell you, replays I think are pretty amazing.
Well, you'll be able to challenge balls and strikes this year too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
And I remember we've seen those old baseball games, where they missed a lot of calls on plays to first base, where guys had hit the bag and, the ball hadn't even got there. They called them out. So, yeah, it's amazing.
Now they let AI call it.
We've talked about it so many times on the shows. It's not a perfect game. We're trying to make it a perfect game, but back in the old days, it was, I don't know, what do you call it, romantic or whatever, that you lived with the call.
Yeah.
Right or wrong, you lived with the call.
That's what you did.
But
you had to.
Yeah. Where we at, Donnie? We got some time.
It's time to take a break.
Well, let me just say, Mike, I want to close off on this. That romanticism, it's true, but the thing was, in baseball, you had an umpire, you could figure out his strike zone. That was part of the game because you were not going to be pulled after 4 innings. You were pitching 5-6 innings.
Right, at least.
you were working that umpire. You were figuring out where his strike zone was and what you could get away with.
Yeah.
And in basketball, it was kind of the same thing. If I can drive in, he's not going to call this foul, but he's going to call this foul if I do this. That was kind of part of it. But the thing was, that meant those guys were consistently making their calls the same way with that criteria, and that's what frustrates people is, yesterday, this trip down, this is a foul. The next trip down, it's not. That kind of inconsistency is what drives fans and coaches crazy.
Exactly.
I think if you like you said, if you can be consistent, like if the umpire's giving you outside all night, you can't complain about it. You know it's going to be there. It's hey, you just rung me up on a pitch that you haven't called a strike all night, or you just called a foul on a drive and I just got hacked on the other end and you didn't call it. So why is this a foul?
We had officials in baseball. I'm not going to call anybody's names here, but when they were ready to go, that strike zone got very, very, very large.
Yeah.
Yeah. Donnie Moore, World Series back in the mid-'50s. Jackie Robinson's on third. He steals home on Yogi Berra. Replay. Wouldn't the replay been interesting back in?
Replay might have showed a different story.
You know what I'm saying?
Right
I've been interesting to see how that. I mean, it was close.
It was.
But I would have thought that the replay would have been interesting. What they would have finally ruled on that particular play. Now we know how Yogi ruled.
Of course.
You watched it. What did you think live?
Yogi says he's out. He was out. Hey, time for a break. When we return, it's the Boyd Sports Spotlight. You're listening to the GoTeez Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
For over 90 years, Anderson Lumber Company in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. Locally owned, so the money made here stays here. Whether you're renovating a kitchen, bath, new floors, doors, or windows, Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store and can take care of you from design to install. We welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa for all your home's needs, or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for the Boyd Sports Spotlight segment. Donnie Moore, we're heading in that time of year, buddy. We got March Madness coming up.
Ooh,
we got the Masters Golf Tournament coming up. We got the Kentucky Derby coming up, and we've got the Indianapolis 500 coming up. It doesn't get any better than it does in spring in the United States.
Springtime is the greatest time for sports.
Absolutely.
We'll have brackets this time next week.
Yeah, we should.
There's a little bit of something for everybody. That's the best way to sum it up, don't you think?
You got that right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, with that, let's talk about our sports headlines. Brought to you, as always, by our friends at Fast Signs. I've already talked about the WBC, so I'm going to skip that section. Memphis head basketball coach Penny Hardaway possibly could have coached his last game at Memphis. The Tigers.
Well, yeah, you know why.
Well, yeah. The Tigers' subpar season ended Wednesday night in the first round of the American Conference tourney after a disappointing loss to Tulane, 81-69.
Oh, I thought you were going to say because they did away with the penny.
No, but it looks like Memphis is going to do away with the penny as well.
Okay, so Memphis and Donald Trump have something in common, doing away with the penny.
The Tigers finished the season with a 13-19 record, the worst in Hardaway's 8-year tenure. His overall record at Memphis is a pretty respectable 175 wins as opposed to 87 losses. Not too bad, including 3 NCAA tourney appearances and 2 conference tourney titles. Hardaway was a consensus first-team All-American in 1993 and has his number 25 jersey retired by the school.
You know, for years there was a couple of schools that you didn't even have to go out of the metro area to get your players. One was Louisville and the other was Memphis.
That's right.
So as the players, Marcus and Caleb, you could maybe address this. Have the players dropped off a little bit in that area, talent-wise?
No,
or?
I think now there's other schools have realized that there's good basketball in Memphis, and you can pay a lot of money to get the players out. So I'd say it's more of other schools are competing for those guys now, and instead of just Memphis not getting them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, say that all things being equal, I think the level of play in Memphis is probably where it's always been. I think you've seen an uptick in the quality of play coming out of the mid-state in Nashville, especially around Murfreesboro, that area around Williamson County. You've seen an increase, and that's brought more recruiting to the state in general, and more coaches looking at the state tournament and looking at teams and looking at guys that are coming from Tennessee on those AAU teams, and that makes a bit of a difference because it opens that recruiting circle. And you know, we thought for a while there Penny was a good recruiter, but there were some issues that came up and some questions that got raised, and you feel like that's kind of maybe hamstrung him a little bit what he could do on the recruiting-wise the last few years.
And also just playing the money game, Memphis got rid of their women's coach, former Lady Vol Alex Simmons as well. So do you want to fire both your basketball coaches in the same cycle at a school like Memphis that's really proud of its basketball? I don't know if you want to do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Well, Miami Heat star Bam Adebayo achieved a feat of epic proportions on Tuesday in the Heat's game with the Washington Wizards when he occupied second place on the all-time single-game scoring list. Speaking for single games, of course. Adebayo passed Kobe Bryant for second place on the list with a stellar 83-point performance, surpassing Bryant's 81. Of course, the record is held by the inimitable Wilt Chamberlain with 100 points in a single game.
Wow. Yeah. Are we sure Wilt scored 100? you would have been around.
I was around. I remember when he did it. I
So
remember when it was
it-
broadcast the next day that he got 100 points.
So it happened.
It happened, yeah.
But there's no
He sure
videos
did.
of it.
Well, he did it. He got 100 points.
He sure did.
I don't know.
And,
I just see the picture of him holding the sign. I've never seen any videos.
Well,
of him
neither
scoring.
one of them in either one of those games had a shot they didn't like. Let's put it that way. And both of them had to go to the whirlpool and soak their arms, I'm sure. But 83 points in this day and age, to me, that's pretty remarkable.
And it was all at the final 8 minutes of the game. The Wizards knew he was going for it, so they were double teaming him, triple teaming him, and he just started getting to the foul line and knocking down his shots.
Yeah.
Well, 2 Formula One races scheduled to be held in the Middle East are reportedly set to be canceled because of the ongoing war in Iran. The 2 events to be held in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia are expected to be canceled possibly by the end of this weekend. If so, it would reduce the number of events in the 2026 season from 24 to 22.
And there's no talk about moving those somewhere else for those.
Absolutely
So
not.
they're going to cancel.
Cancel.
That's going to cost the team some money.
You better believe
It'll
it
cost
is.
them some money, and of course, both of those countries that have those races, those are big money makers.
Those are big money makers, and those races bring out a ton of people in the Middle East because those are countries. Obviously, with the conflict, it's not good now, but those are countries that have a lot of money with the oil and everything. And those races are packed out just like every Formula One race.
And they are top facilities, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you end up with some interesting negotiations going on with your team sponsors and series sponsors and all of that because you've got 2 less opportunities for them to have their logo out there and get that television exposure, get that live fan exposure. So when you take that away, you end up with some very interesting conversations, and it's going to vary sponsor by sponsor and team by team what the impact will be.
You also have some interesting travel conversations now, too, because you plan everything's planned in advance to
Your
get the cars from one spot, your itinerary, and it kind of all flows as one. Now you take out 2 spots, you're going to have to scrap plans and get new ones.
Well, you're going to turn the trucks around because – and you would think that they may have been hesitating a little bit about putting them on the road to get down there.
Yeah. I would hope.
Well,
and TV.
Yeah,
Throw in
TV,
some TV
money too.
Yeah.
It's going away. Well, Oklahoma City Thunder star Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is at the acme of his career. In Thursday's 104 to 102 win over the Celtics, the reigning NBA MVP broke Hall of Fame icon, here again, Wilt Chamberlain's record for consecutive games with at least 20 points scored. He has 127 consecutive games scoring at least 20 points.
It's crazy.
That's pretty consistent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sure is.
It seems like somewhere along the way somebody said, maybe we want to guard this guy.
Yeah. Or look at a scouting report.
I don't know whether anybody has yet or not.
I don't think they care to play defense much.
No. Well, let's look at a few things that happened on this day in sports. March 14th. 1954, going back to 54, Milwaukee Braves future home run king Hank Aaron homers in his debut exhibition game versus the Red Sox. So he hit a bunch of them.
Start of a good career, yeah.
Sure was.
And 3 years later, he was in a World Series. 57 and 58, the Braves were in the World Series.
1956, 50-year-old Satchel Paige signs a contract to both play and manage for the Birmingham Black Barons of the Negro National League.
I saw him play in Indianapolis. He came in there, and he wasn't even with the other team. They signed him up for one night. I think he was 105.
Gave him a
Nobody knew his age. The Indianapolis Star was
one-day contract.
I mean, and he went out and pitched. I saw him right.
Oh, yeah.
And did a really good job, but they had no idea what his age was. I mean, I think he was probably in his, I don't know, his 50s anyway.
Got to be, yeah.
Could you imagine managing and coaching a team?
Oh, goodness. No. Well, 1962, let's move on to that year. Gordie Howe of the Detroit Red Wings scores his 500th career goal on this day. He's a good one. 1967, the first overall pick in the NFL draft was Michigan State defensive end Bubba Smith.
Really?
He went to the Colts.
Bubba Kill. That's what they call him.
Yeah.
Lord.
Whew, man. He's
Man
a
among men,
monster.
that guy was.
A monster. 1972, the NBA's Cincinnati Royals announced a move to Kansas City due to poor attendance.
Yeah. I saw the Royals and the Boston Celtics play in the high school gym in Connersville, Indiana, an exhibition game. Way back in the day. Oscar and Havlicek and
Man, that's some great names.
Bill Russell
right
and all that.
Oh,
But they looked a little odd on a high school court.
I bet they did.
But they, sure enough, they were playing in Connersville, Indiana on a court.
How many people did that gym hold?
Connersville, they played the sectional there. It probably holds about between 5,000 and 6,000 people.
Oh, that's not bad for exhibition. High school gym.
Yeah.
Moved to 1976. Hall of Fame jockey, in fact, Bill Shoemaker, wins his 7,000th horse race. Can you imagine winning that many, even riding in that many?
That's crazy.
Good gracious. 2017, moving on way up the line here. 2017, Scotland's Muirfield Golf Club, which is the world's oldest golf club, votes to accept women as members for the first time in 273 years. And that didn't happen until 2017.
Good Lord. A little late.
Yeah, really. A few birthdays on this date, happening on this date, March 14th. 1914, Lee Petty was born on this day. Cup champ in 54, 58, and 59. The Daytona 500 champ in 59, born in Randleman, North Carolina. Died in 2000, and we miss him still. Father of Richard Petty, of course. 1930, Don Haskins, Hall of Fame coach at Texas El Paso from 61 to 99, born in Enid, Oklahoma.
That Texas Western?
Yep, Texas Western.
Texas Western.
Yeah, they call it Texas El Paso now.
Beat Kentucky, 1966.
Sure did.
Good game.
Died in 2008. 1946, Hall of Fame center Wes Unseld. He was also, besides being a center, he was also at one point the coach of the Washington Bullets, where he played. Born in Louisville, Kentucky. Died in 2020.
And that's one of those guys that stayed right there at Louisville.
He sure did.
Played at Louisville.
He sure did.
Outstanding player.
1960 on this day, Kirby Puckett was born. Hall of Fame center fielder, 10-time All-Star, 6 Gold Gloves won. Played for whom?
Minnesota Twins.
Minnesota Twins, that's right. Born in Chicago, Illinois, died in 2006. 1978, happy birthday to Ron the Great Dane. Ron Dane, Hall of Fame running back, won the Heisman in 1999 and played at Wisconsin and the New York Giants, born in Lynchburg, Virginia. Ron Dane. 1988, born on this day, Stephen Curry, NBA guard. Career holds the three-point record in the NBA for career. He's also the NBA most valuable player in 2015 and 2016. Played at Golden State for the Warriors and born in Toronto, Canada.
There's a guy, if you could give him the shots, he'd get 83.
You
He'd probably get 83 every night. You give him the shots.
He could, I guarantee it.
Leave him open.
Yeah.
And our last birthday on this day, 1997, born on this day, Simone Biles. Mike?
Yeah.
She was a gymnast, of course, gold medalist in 2016 and 2024. Born in Columbus, Ohio, and came back from an episode of the Twisties. That's right.
Only person to ever have the Twisties.
That's it.
Do you know anybody else
Donnie?
had the Twisties?
No, not me.
We're not going to hit exactly, Dave, but this was kind of this. I was thinking about this, and I won't even tell you why, but it came up. But think back, March 11.
Okay.
We'll say March 12, actually. So we're talking about Thursday. 6 years ago, that was when Tennessee was headed over to Bridgestone Arena to play Alabama, and the pandemic shut down the tournament as they got there.
I remember that.
Y'all remember that?
Sure do.
But it's hard to believe that was 6 years ago.
6 years. Wow. One death of note on this day, March 14th. In 1925, Walter Camp died. He was recognized as the father of American football. Died at the age of 65.
And I have a career move for you.
All right.
That on the end. News-wise, y'all remember John Bryce?
Yeah.
Used to work at the Daily Times,
Yeah.
worked at VolQuest.
Oh, yeah. I remember John.
John's got a new gig. He has been hired by USA Today One Team as their sports guru.
Good deal.
So he is actually, I understand he's moving to Utah and going to be breaking stories from there now. But if you've been keeping up with him the last 4 or 5 years, he's been at the edge of a lot of college football stories ahead of the networks. So congratulations to him.
Congrats, JB. Well, that's all for this week's sports headlines, brought to you, as always, by our friends at Fast Signs. I'm Donnie Moore. Back to you, Gunner.
I'm Mike Edwards, and I'm here with Caleb Jarreau and Marcus Fitzsimmons and Donnie Moore. And tomorrow is Selection Sunday, Caleb. The men will selections for their NCAA tournament bids will go out at around 6 o'clock, and around 8 o'clock the women's bids will go out. So let's talk about the Lady Vols. Lenardi's got them as an 8th seed. Where you got them?
Yeah, I think that's probably right, which is crazy given their record and the way they ended the year. I think the only way they would change is if they move a seed line for travel, because sometimes they can move you for travel. But I think that's pretty fair. What would you say?
Well, I don't even think they should be there, to be honest with you. You know, I just don't.
For the first time?
Yeah, for the first time. But they are there, and probably tradition has got a lot to do with that.
Well, your net ranking is in the top 25. Your wins above bubble are in the top 30.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you finished 500 in SEC play. You're the 6th seeded team in the SEC tournament. So there are some things, you know.
Okay,
especially on the women's side.
You got me turned around right there. They are a better projection to get into the tournament than Auburn's men, okay? That's the way I see it. But anyway, they got them out west.
Important distinction.
They got them out west, and they got UCLA in their bracket. So They got them possibly playing Syracuse, which means they would have to play UCLA, which they've already played this year, and that didn't turn out real well.
No,
UCLA's still mad about getting beaten softball, though.
If you're on that 8-9 seed line, you have to go to a 1 seed. And currently projected 2 SEC teams will be the 1 seed. So your choices are to go to UConn, which didn't end good last time, or go to LA. And with the way they have to seed the tournament right now, they're probably going to send them to LA because, Villanova's on that 8-9 line. They can't go to UConn and some travel things as well because, again, the NCAA is struggling to find charter planes for these teams to travel. That's not an issue for big universities like Tennessee because they have their own. They have their own travel obligations and things they can do. So that would be a rough road trip, I would say. And to your point, even if they make it to UCLA, you still have to get past that first game. They haven't won a game since February 12th.
Yeah,
that's over a month. Over a month now.
And I've written some things down here, and I'm going to ask you about them. Can they overcome some of these things to where they can make a showing in the tournament? But obviously, they've had some discipline problems. Turnovers have been a problem. Inconsistency's been a problem. I don't think this team has an identity, a leader, floor leader. I mean, they've got some issues right here that need to be addressed, and I don't know. They've had some time here, to get the cobwebs out of the mind, so to speak. But is it going to be enough, or is it pretty much over?
I wouldn't pick them to overcome those things. And I think, to me, when the schedule came out, it wasn't expected you lose 7 straight, 10 of your last 12. But it was expected that February would be a harder month because you got, a lot of your SEC games were backloaded. You played good teams. I mean, that's just expected. Then you go to the SEC tournament and get wire-to-wire beat by Alabama, which is not a team you beat already in January. And they're a good women's basketball team, yes, but not a team you should lose to like that. Alabama turned around for comparison and got blown out by Texas the next day in the SEC tournament. So I wouldn't pick them to overcome these things, especially given the fact, like you haven't won a game in over a month. And you've got issues off the court and on the court. Talasia Cooper, one of your best players, just left the arena after the game in the SEC tournament. I was standing in the hallway, watched her walk out with a staffer, even though they're mandatory open locker room. They're supposed to be in there. There's just so much stuff going on, Mike, that at this point, the basketball part almost seems secondary with this team and how they've played on the court, and it hasn't been good. And like I said, they've shown us nothing in the last month or so to prove that they can turn this around because they've had winnable games and they haven't won them.
Let me ask you this. Let's say they go out there and they lose the first game, or they win the first game and they get blown out in the second game. Do you just cut your losses with Kim Caldwell right now, or you go back and say, well, we'll give it another year, knowing that she's probably going to lose the better part of her roster.
Yeah,
she's going to be starting over. It's going to be a rebuilding deal next year. Where are you at?
It's a good question because not only are you looking at a roster that'll probably turn over like every team, especially when you have a year like this.
Right.
You just extended her last year and raised her yearly salary from $750,000 to she got a raise from $750,000 to $1 million. So you've got the money aspect there, and also you've got the aspect of it was athletic director Danny White's hire, and if he fires her, then he's saying that he failed with the hire. Does he do that? I don't know. 2 years again is a quick turnaround, but everybody has been talking about this program, talking about how it was a rebuild. I don't think you can call it a rebuild.
No,
you were coming off,
so either.
I think 4 or 5 straight first-round WNBA draft picks. You were coming off a round of 32 berth, 2 Sweet 16s before that, and a round of 32 before that. You were in the SEC championship in 2023 in the SEC tournament. So it doesn't feel like this is a rebuild, and it doesn't feel like they should regress under a new head coach to me. Now, do I think they fire her after this year? I would doubt it. I think you do have to give her an extra year and see what happens. But you do, to your point, expect some changes because, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I don't think you can roll into next year with, the same plan, the same staff, the same roster, the same everything and expect a different result.
Yeah.
So I think you need some changes in the offseason. I don't think it would be head coach changes. It just feels a little too soon, especially given everything going on at Tennessee from next year will be a crucial year for Tennessee athletics all around because you'll have Josh Heupel in what feels like almost a make-or-break year. Rick Barnes will have assuming be there another year. If you keep Caldwell, that'll be a make or break year for her. And then you've also got Josh Elander, who'd be going into his second year and having to create his own roster for the first time. So next year is setting up to what feels like the decision-making year. I don't think they'll
Pivotal
make a change
year next
after
year.
this year. Yeah.
Wait, Marcus, go ahead.
So let me put this to you. So where Lady Vols finished, they are one of 4 teams tied at 8-8 in the conference standings. And the projection is that they are the line that's going to be drawn in the SEC. Basically, if you were even in the SEC or had a winning record, they're going to get you in. So I don't think Tennessee fans are happy with that. But Tennessee is the only one of those 500 teams in the conference that didn't have 20 or more wins. Is that the line that she's got to? Has she got to win 20 games? Do you think that next year to?
Well, I'll give you some stats, Marcus.
Is that the bottom line? You've got to do this.
If Tennessee doesn't make a run to the Final Four of the Elite Eight, which seems pretty apparent they won't, this will be the second time in program history they haven't won 20 games, besides the COVID year. And the other year was Holly Warlick's last year. And then this will also be their worst – if they don't hit 19 games, this will be their worst record in program history because Holly in that final season won 19 games and was the lowest seed, which is like an 11 seed, I believe, in that season. So if you want to put a number on it, I feel like 20 is a fair margin because it's only not been met during a full year once in the NCAA era. So even when, Kelly Harper was the coach, Holly Warlick was the coach, Pat Summitt was the coach, you're hitting 20 wins all except 1 year, and then you don't get it this year. And, yes, you can argue the schedule was tough, but you still had your winnable games there. And even if your schedule is tough at Tennessee, you're supposed to compete in those games. So, to your point, it does seem like the line is drawn at 8-8. Tennessee's lucky with a couple wins. Like, at Stanford really holds a lot of weight as a good win. They won at Alabama, won at Georgia. Those games hold a lot of weight. And those were 50-50 games. So, I think 20 is a good margin. But, honestly, you need to look at it and say – from my point of view is how are you advancing the program past what you took over? Because when Kelly Harper was fired from Tennessee, it felt like it wasn't a move. Kelly Harper had success. It wasn't a move that, she's failing. It was a move of Tennessee should be competing for championships, not competing for Sweet 16s. And that's why you chose to get rid of Kelly Harper. But you're not advancing past that now. So if she's going to be the person to do it or not.
The frustration was Tennessee was playing in the top quarter of the conference. But they were not cracking into that top 1 or 2 against South Carolina. Or we knew Texas was coming at that point, but at that point I think it was Mississippi State and Alabama that were riding that 2 line, and Tennessee was kind of like the 3, 4, or 5 area. But now you're down this year. You're in the 10, 11, you're in that 8 to 12 range.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
and you got lucky with some other tiebreakers that got you to that 6 in the SEC tournament.
What made it worse was how they lost to those top teams.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't close games. They were blowouts.
And to your point, too, whenever you chose to get rid of Kelly Harper, she was losing close games to the top teams,
yes.
But the decision-making was we're not beating top teams. Tennessee should be beating top teams. You choose to part ways. Now, not only are you not beating top teams, but you set the record this year. You have the worst loss in program history at 43 to South Carolina. You have the second worst loss in program history to 30 at UConn. And then if you want to go down the list, in 2 years, Kim Caldwell has more of the worst losses in program history than Kelly Harper had in her entire tenure.
Yeah, and with a recruiting class, it was one of the tops in the country going into the season.
And a transfer portal class that was top 10.
But part of that plays to her style of play, that when that style does not outperform the opponent will run away from you very quickly when you play that way.
And on the flip side of that, to play devil's advocate, her style is supposed to help that if you shoot poorly, you get so many extra shots that it doesn't matter. But that hasn't worked this year. There's been several games where the other team has more offensive rebounds, more turnovers, and shoots more shots. So now her system is you're supposed to get 15 to 20 more shots than the other team. So that way, if you shoot 40%, but Tennessee shoots 30%, you're still going to win that game just based on taking more shots. That hasn't happened this year. And there hasn't been many changes in the system. And she said before that the subs haven't worked and the amount of players that they're playing haven't worked for the system to succeed. She made the roster. It's her decisions doing that. So you can't really use. There isn't an excuse here. from my point of
Yeah.
view as to why the system isn't working. Because this is supposed to be the year. Sorry to cut you off, Mike. This is supposed to be the year where she got her players in that fit the system. This was supposed to be the year where the system works. Would you have youth? Yes, but your system was supposed to work. Now looking back at last year, on a team that was 50-50 Caldwell players and Harper players, they had more success running her system than a team that's now the only holdovers that played. Kanaya Boyd is the only player on this team that ever played for Kelly Harper. And then obviously Talasia Cooper was a Kelly Harper recruit, but never played for her, and she's still one of your best players.
Yeah. Time for a break. When we return, we'll come back to talk about the UT Vols and their situation in regard to the NCAA basketball tournament. You're listening to the GoTeez Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, and I'm here with Donnie Moore, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Caleb Jarreau. And let's talk a little bit about the Tennessee Vols and where they're headed in this NCAA tournament. A lot of projections have them as a 5th seed. Lenardi's got them as a 5th seed. In the Midwest bracket, number 1 Michigan is the number 1 seed in that bracket. They've got Tennessee playing possibly Yale, and then maybe hooking up with Virginia. Have you seen anything other than that?
No. Joe Lenardi dropped them in last night from the 5-seed line, or from the 4-seed line to the 5-seed line after the loss to Vanderbilt, which kind of aligns with what you're saying.
Do you think there's any chance? I think 4's off the table now because of their exit from the tournament.
I think so.
Is there a chance that they could drop to 6?
6, I don't think so, unless some crazy upsets happen, probably. I think 5 feels right for this team, given the fact that they've gotten big wins and they've played good at times, but they also have done quite the opposite. And what hurts them too is Houston got a couple losses at the end of the year, and that's Tennessee's best win. That's their
That's true.
That's their, when you look at their resume, that's their number 1 win, and they lost a couple times to end the year. That kind of hurts their resume.
Yeah.
Marcus, if they happen to play Yale, I'm not too crazy about playing.
I hate that matchup.
Those Ivy League schools. You know, they play. I hate to use the term they play really smart basketball, but you know, all the years Princeton was in that league and they'd get in the tournament, and boy, they would just give teams fits.
Yeah, they would.
You know, the way that they played and their offense and their style and so forth. I don't know. It'll be a different style that Tennessee will have to adjust to from where they've been playing, will it not?
Sure will.
They scare me just because of the matchups where Tennessee's strengths with the rebounding, with the good defense, they're not going to be such strengths against that kind of team that plays just fundamental basketball the way they do. I think it takes away some of Tennessee's advantage, so I like it better when Tennessee has an overwhelming matchup, or, you know, but when they get that mid-major that is.
We've seen that story before.
We've seen that, and it causes fits. So the Ivy League just scares me more because it feels like the mid-major, except they can play. They're going to play their style, and they can feel like they can beat you with it.
And we've looked too, to your point, Tennessee this year. I think Vanderbilt's a good example of a team you don't expect to get overwhelmed by, and it's given Tennessee fits all year. When they've played teams that should overwhelm them, like Houston. In the SEC, some examples would be like in Alabama maybe. Teams that you expect to be physical with you, they've had success. It's when you go against a team that is just going to play fundamental, going to spread it out, kind of take your bigs out of the game like a Vanderbilt in the SEC, or even maybe a Missouri at that point too. They've struggled this year.
Yeah. That Midwest bracket that we was talking about, Yale, actually that was a CBS that had them playing Yale, and then I think Iowa State and North Dakota State, they would beat the winner of that game. And then Lenardi had them as a 5. That was actually a 6 seed on that CBS ranking. And then Lenardi had them at a 5, and they would be playing a Northern Iowa. And then they would be looking at Texas Tech or Utah Valley. But that would be out west, out at Portland, and then Gonzaga is in that bracket out there. So they would probably end up facing them out there. I don't know if that'd be a good thing or not.
Did you have the location for the CBS one where their first round would be?
I did not.
I don't think there's no real good host sites this year that are close by for Tennessee. I think the closest is Greenville, South Carolina, but with Duke being the top overall seed, they'll surely pick there and they'll slot it. So I've seen Tennessee in Portland or Philadelphia on the men's side.
And sometimes, Lenardi and CBS and, the predictions, and then you get in there and it don't pan out that way. I mean, it's good to look at them and say, well, that'd be an interesting matchup and so forth and so on.
Fun to talk about.
Fun to talk about.
I think Gennardi, the one that surprised me is, Arkansas and Tennessee are both 5s in his.
Yeah.
And I find that I don't see that holding through the weekend unless Arkansas loses today.
And that's a good point.
I mean, if Arkansas wins today and goes to the finals, you see them bumping up to a 4, and maybe that pushes somebody back into a 5, and maybe that alters the 5 line to push Tennessee down to a 6.
And also to your point, while we're on Joe Lenardi, his bracket projection I told you about Tennessee dropping off the 4 line had Vanderbilt as both a 4 and a 5 seed. Yeah. So there's errors in these too. It's not a perfect science.
Yeah.
I don't think a team can make it twice.
This Tennessee team, when they go into the tournament play, they're going to be playing teams that they don't know much about. They haven't played them, so to speak. When you're playing the Southeastern Conference, you pretty well know what the strengths and weaknesses of everybody is in the league. But when you go out and play in a tournament, especially the NCAA tournament, you're playing a team from a different area of this country. They play maybe a different style. They've played in a different league. It's a challenge. It's challenging.
Yep.
It is.
And I think one thing Tennessee does good, and as the coaches at the table can talk to, is every time they play a new opponent, they compare it to somebody they've played before. So if they play a weird, up-tempo style, they'll try to tell the players, hey, this is like Alabama. We're going to do the same things we did against Alabama. So I think that helps, too, to your point, where they'll play a different style, a different team they're unfamiliar with, but at the end of the day, it's basketball. So you've seen something similar before, and they always try to relate it back to an SEC team so that way the players aren't walking in and aren't shell-shocked by what they see.
Yeah. How big of an effect would it have on this basketball team to travel out west with the time difference and not been able to carry many fans out there?
Well, they had success in the Las Vegas tournament is when they beat Houston. Yeah. So I think playing those early season tournaments helps you kind of get used to that.
Yeah, but they had some fans there in Las Vegas.
Mike, Southwest is here now. You can catch that flight, go to Denver,
true, yeah.
get the transfer, and you can be You can be there in San Diego or Portland in no time at all.
I think going out west doesn't affect them as much unless you face Gonzaga or a team who is out west.
Yeah.
Because if you go to Portland and you face like Michigan, well, y'all are both traveling, so it's okay. But I think if you go out there and all of a sudden you're facing a Gonzaga or a team from California, I do think some of that might be there.
Okay, let's look at the teams in the SEC that you feel like that's going to be there. Florida, we can check them. Yep. Alabama, we can check them. Arkansas, check them. Tennessee, check them. Kentucky, and Vanderbilt, we can check all of those. Okay, so you got 6 teams in. Texas A&M.
I think so. They finished 4th in the conference, play a fun style, got some big wins.
Texas A&M, everybody?
I think they're in.
Marcus?
I think they're in. I think they're a low seed. I kind of go, I think they've got them in as a 10 or 11. So,
Georgia. Both Texas A&M and Georgia lost first game of the tournament.
Yeah.
In or out?
I don't think Georgia's in.
You don't?
No.
Marcus?
They might sneak in.
I think
who knows?
I think Georgia will be in. They got some big wins this year.
They had some wins. I think there may be. I think that'll depend. It's one of those things that's going to depend on the whim of the committee tomorrow, whether they're in or not.
And you go 10-8 in the conference too, and they're going to think highly of the SEC.
And I think some of it will depend on what Ole Miss does today.
Mm-hmm.
If Ole Miss plays close or wins today, then Georgia can feel better. But if they get blown out today, then if you're Georgia, that loss looks worse than it did before.
I think Georgia's in. I think Georgia's in. Okay, let's talk about Texas.
I don't think so.
Huh?
Rough year for the Longhorns.
It has been a tough year.
They had the newcomer of the year, but
I'm saying
that loss to Ole Miss really does hurt.
Yeah.
Because you were trying to convince people you should be in the tournament.
Missouri. Woo, Missouri.
I'd say they're in. Big win over Tennessee at home. Good year.
Yeah.
They told Dennis Gates they'd give him money, and he's paid off with
I think
wins.
they're in, and I hate to say this just because there's a pod in St. Louis.
Yeah,
They're in.
They're a cheap team
Okay.
to put in.
All right, so you're thinking Texas is out.
I'd
So
vote out.
a lot of people think there's 10 teams. That's 9 teams.
From Sports Page
that's 9 teams.
bracketology, I think
That's
Texas
9
is
teams. But I'm not done yet. Auburn,
Nope.
out.
No.
I'd say out.
Not a chance.
Sports Page.
Oklahoma.
I think they're on that bubble with Georgia. It's one or the other.
I think they are too. Yeah.
One or the other.
I don't know.
Not
I
gonna
think if
get
they'd have
both.
beaten Arkansas last night and then gone on and beat Ole Miss, I think they would have been in. Don't you?
I think they had a chance to make an impression and didn't. So I
They
say
didn't do
out.
it. So we're looking at 9, possibly 10, but 9. You think 9 SEC teams?
I
I
think
think that's fair.
I'd say I'm confident at 8 with 10 possible.
You're always on the low end.
I would say 9, and I think that there's only one.
Conservative.
I would say there's only
Yeah.
one championship contender, but I think everybody will be a team you don't want to play.
Yeah, so you think Florida's the SEC?
I think
best,
Florida's our best shot.
and I think everybody else, almost everybody else, it's almost like putting them in a bag and just,
whatever team
move
shows up
away.
that night.
Yeah.
Whatever shows up on that particular night. Hey, guys, good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning today. Good to see you,
Hey,
Caleb.
good
Been a
show.
while.
Yeah.
Been busy.
Hope to see
Good
you back,
show.
and we'll get out of here and look forward to March Madness next week.
Thank you, my friend.
All right.
I want to wish for our Italian contingent of our show
Coach Jarreau.
from Coach Aruli and from Charlie. We want to wish the Italians good luck today.
Yeah. What'd they think
in
about
the World
Italy
Baseball
winning
Classic.
that baseball game? In Italian.
Well, they did.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Charlie's playing for Italy, right?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
He is. All right, here we go.
Hey, that'll do it for today's edition of the Sports Page. Thanks to Aaron Ishmael back at Loud Media, our host, the Bluetick Tavern, and all our sponsors. For Donnie Moore, Marcus Fitzsimmons, Caleb Jarreau, until next Saturday, this is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, wishing everyone good sports.
And that's the final whistle. Join us again next Saturday.